is 7:30. First off, I just want to remind all of you, if you have questions for Mr. Daniel at any point, feel free to put that in the chat, unmute yourself, ask a question. If we can try to stay relevant to what we're discussing at the moment, that will kind of help. I just want to personally thank John. He has been a great mentor to a lot of officials, not only in the Southwest region out of Las Cruces, but the entire state. As you have heard, he did work at the NMAA, and I'll let Dana kind of introduce him a little more. But I personally just have learned a lot from this gentleman, and I can't thank him enough for really helping me in my journey as an official. And so I just want to personally thank you for that. With that, I'll pass it on to Dana, and I'll let her kind of introduce you.
Thanks, Nate.
Thank you, Nate.
So as Nate mentioned, John was me back in the mid-90s. So John actually served as the commissioner of officials for the NMAA, and he served as a regional assigner. He's been a group leader. He's officiated a number of sports, basketball being one of them. But John is someone who early in my career, when I was working in the NMAA in Nate's position, John actually supervised me for a year or two from Las Cruces. He was working as commissioner of officials and investigative officer, I believe was the title that he had. And I learned a lot from John, in my formative years within the NMOA. So he's somebody who's been a mentor to both Nate and I, just in different ways. So John is also somebody who's very well versed in two-person mechanics. And this year, because of the condensed schedule, because of people sitting out because of COVID this year, there might be officials working two-person who haven't had to do that in a while. So as Nate and I were on our last webinar, somebody had put in the chat that it would be a good idea if we did a two-person review. And we both felt that it would be a better idea to have somebody who's extremely well-versed in that do this instruction. So Nate asked John to do it, and John very happily accepted, and we're very glad that he did, and we're honored to have him on, and it's great to see him in this capacity, and we'll definitely be picking his brain as this season rolls forward. So without further ado, Mr. John Daniel.
Thank you, Dana.
Of course.
All right, John, let me get to the screen share here. And all right, John, you're up.
All right. Just to kind of talk about the obvious, we are going to talk about two-person mechanics. And if anybody thinks I say something that's incorrect, you're probably going to be right. So feel free to bring it to my attention. I will not take offense. It's been a long time. In fact, Nate and I, when we were going through this, as he said, there were some things that even I hadn't thought of for years and years and years. But I have continually worked two-man games for over 30 years until I quit officiating basketball. But again, we're going to start with the things, we're going to talk about the things that you see there on the slide. And I'm assuming we'll try to get through all those. And if we have more time, then we'll either do some more or elaborate or, do whatever the crowd wants. So I'm ready. Let's put them up there. All right, you can see that we've got our two-person setup to begin the game. And for the purposes of this and about this only, we do have a referee and an umpire. The referee will be the tosser. The umpire is over there at the table. Actually, before this starts, the referee is probably backed out a little closer to the sideline. As soon as the umpire tells him he's ready, meaning the table is ready, the referee will lightly toss the ball. Easy tosses are better than real hard high ones. So toss the ball, and really toss is a good name for it. He'll toss the ball and we'll go from there.
So in this situation, you'll see the icons move, and so in this situation, Team A wins the toss, which is going to be the yellow team.
Right. We see the players break. Of course, the umpire should be breaking with the players as soon as the ball is possessed. So the umpire should move to the baseline. Referee should move just kind of back out on his side and be ready to officiate from that position. So again, pretty easy one going that direction. Just everybody turns and goes. One thing to remember as an official, don't turn your back on the players. Umpire, when you're running to get to the baseline, be watching the players. Either be sliding with them or looking over your shoulder. And the referee should just sort of follow, will probably be right on the ball the whole time. So be watching that matchup right there at that point.
Team B will win this toss.
All right, again, we've got this similar situation. Umpire breaks down to the baseline. And again, the referee just backs out. And again, everybody should be watching the players. Just don't turn and run, umpire. Make sure that you're watching the players as you're going down. And again, the referee just backs out.
Real quick, John, the one thing I do want to mention for our new officials, if you are that U1, that umpire, you are responsible for chopping the clock. So before the referee tosses the ball, you as the umpire will have one hand, open hand, raised above your head. And as soon as that ball is touched, not caught or not, there is no possession, just touch, you can chop the clock.
That's right. Very important because the table is taking the cue from that. And remember, umpire, until the things sort of clear out, you got all 10 players. Because the referee is sort of helpless until they can sort of back out of there. So good point, Nate. I appreciate that.
Are there any questions for John about starting the game and where you go or positioning? And Dana, sorry, I can't see the chat.
I am watching it. There's nothing in there right now.
All right.
I'll stay on top of it.
All right, John.
All right. We're just going to talk about court coverage, and I think we're going to start with the front court, aren't we? There we go. And you can see we've got some shaded diagonal areas. Now this is, Nate and I were sort of kind of trying to figure out where we left this with either this mechanical setup or with the one we're going to show you next. But when we go to the front court, you can see our referee will be at the bottom of the screen there. Our umpire is out of the screen on the baseline, but the gray areas for the referee are I guess that's blue, and then the yellow area would be the lead in this case, or it'd be the umpire in this case. And then our lane area, which is really gray, that's sort of the all call area. In other words, it's both officials area. If you see something in there, it should be called, whether you're referee or the umpire. We used to say in the good old days that the referee in that area would take, or the official that's outside, which would be the referee, would take everything on top, and meaning on the arms and hands, and the person on the baseline would be watching the hip movement and the feet, as far as whether they walked, whether there was a block, whether there was any of that kind of thing. But if you are able to get into that position off the jump ball, you'll be able to officiate. Always keep an eye on your partner. Make sure your partner went to the right spot. And if they didn't, you still have time to make an adjustment. But I know for brand new officials, this seems pretty complicated, but it's really not that complicated. And this is really an old school method, very old school. So if you've seen something different than this, then you're probably right on, because we talked about this, Nate. This is one of the things Nate had not seen before.
Right. And to kind of follow up on John, so in our mechanics manuals, you will see this coverage on this slide. And when John and I started talking about how they covered the front court, it made so much sense in the fact that, yes, but this is a lot of coverage for a trail official. In this case, let me move that's a lot of court coverage for that trail to referee. Yeah, a lot of it is non-competitive, but at the same time, you're leaving a lot for that lead to pick up in that paint area. So when he started explaining that whole diagonal system, and I've actually seen, splitting the court in half down the midline, and, I know that we did talk about, John, whatever you decide on how you're going to split the court, that it's communicated in that pregame.
Right. Make sure you understand who's going to be watching what. And now,
Nate,
also, go ahead.
Excuse me just a second. Do y'all have a problem with the lead as he positions himself in either coverage diagram, the lead coming over to help the trail and then getting back? Or is that okay to do here? The lead, say you've got, because Nate made a comment that it's a lot of area to cover. Can the lead move over the baseline, come over and help if, say, the ball goes to that side and there's multiple players there, and then come back on a transition or something? Are y'all okay with that or not?
Well, we did talk about that, and I didn't know whether that was going to be a little past what we were going to talk about here today, but really you need to always think about officiating the ball side. That's even if you're on the lead. Now, if that postman sets up right there on that block on the far side, you should probably slide over opposite that other lane line and be ready for that toss in there, that big foul that's going to happen right there. But remember, you do not give up your sideline. You're still responsible for the far sideline. And as soon as, let's say that as soon as either there's a made basket or a turnover, you need to move back to your position, and your partner who's out there on top should know that they're not going to switch. They're going to stay, and you're still watching your area. You're just trying to get in the most advantageous spot to see that big play. Now, if there's no post play right there on that side, on that block, then you can stay over there on the other lane line. But it's just based on what the players are doing. So just be aware of what the players are doing. At the lower levels, you're not going to see that big thing happen there probably. Junior high, you probably won't see that. Or middle school, might see it at JV, certainly see it at varsity. But you can move across. Just remember, you still have a job to do over there on your far sideline and your other area. So you're going to be taking on a big portion of the court if you do that. If you do that, and it doesn't make any difference, you're in the regular position or you're on the opposite lane line, remember, when you go across, your back should be towards the sideline. So if you walk across that lane, you're going to be doing 180 to turn your back to the sideline. And when you come back, you'll do another 180 to get your back to the original sideline. Now, I don't know if that's very clear or not, but remember, it's they used to say butt to the sideline. If you want to make it really clear what it is, butt to the sideline.
So John, real quick for the new officials. So what Crawford is asking, if you didn't understand, this is you as the lead official. This is the trail official. What Crawford is saying is if we have a competitive matchup or we have 7 players on this side of the floor, 6 players on this side of the floor, and everything is competitive on this side of the floor, is it okay for the lead to come over and help your trail referee on this side of the floor? The answer is John was saying, do what you need to do to really help referee competitive matchup.
That's correct. And you have to not be locked in like you are in three-person mechanics to your area only. You have to be able to, we talk about officiating being a science and an art. Well, I think three-man mechanics is a science, then an art. Two-man mechanics is an art, then a science. Because you're doing a whole lot more anticipating, and what you're doing is you're just trying to put yourself where you think the plays are going to be.
All right, and real quick,
there's a question in the chat, Nate. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is a switch only done at dead ball, or closest official will pick up?
Switch on. Well, we're about to get to switches on rotation, on fouls and out of bounds.
Yeah, we'll do that in just a little bit.
And then a second question. So moving halfway on the baseline is all right as long as we're ready to move back?
Yes.
Right. Just don't get yourself caught in the paint area, because that's where the collisions all happen, and if the big ones come out of bounds on top of you. So, don't ever stop. Once you decide to move, make sure you go all the way. Or if you get halfway and decide you are not needed anymore, just back out. But don't stop. Either take it all the way or get back where you're supposed to ASAP, or where you had originally started from, I guess is what I should say.
So in this slide, I'm showing that we're showing that the trail. So say we have a change of possession, shot, team A shoots, we have a rebound. Notice I don't have an R or a U1 on either of these referees or these officials, because once that ball goes up, essentially you are equals. You're either a lead or a trail. And so in this case, team A shoots, we either have a score, and now we're headed back the other direction. For your newer officials, you now become the new trail. The old trail now will run down and become the new lead. And that's what this is showing in that same.
There you go. Right. That referee umpire thing is really, as he said, really just for sort of getting the game going, having a conference with the coaches or players. But really it disappears, except for very few instances about things that aren't covered in the book. So everybody's got equal power out there. The labels go away.
Are there any questions about coverage, or just for you newer officials as well, just because of this diagram, this does not mean that the trail and lead position, this trail actually could end up on this side of the floor, or this lead could be on this side of the floor, depending on fouls, location of the throw in. And so you're not just set in these two positions the entire game.
And Nate, there's a question in the chat. Is the court not a diagonal anymore as far as coverage for lead and trail?
In the front court, it's a diagonal, just like we show it here. But once there's a transition and we start going the other direction, all that stuff disappears. And the way we used to do it, you just split the court in half the long way for the transition. And that means the new lead has got that sideline, and the far end line. The new trail has got the baseline behind him, his sideline, and the mid-court line. So again, yes, the diagonal goes away, and you split the court the long way for transition.
And remember, especially, and John had to educate me when we had the discussion, a lot of us came in and we learned three-person mechanics, before we learned two-person mechanics. And the huge difference is that court coverage is very subjective when it comes to two-person mechanics. Ultimately, you're going to referee the entire floor, not exactly, but you're going to have to help your partner in some cases, because we don't have 6 eyes out there.
Right. And again, We talked about playing lumberjack, Nate and I, and that just means that when you're out there, you've got to carry your end of the log. And that means if the other guy drops their end, you got to officiate their end too. So good rule of thumb for any of that is, if you think your partner has a look at it and they don't put a whistle on it, you probably shouldn't blow your whistle. But if you think their back is turned or they're watching something else and it's closer to them than it is to you, if you think there's a foul, you should blow it. There's really no such thing as really getting in big, bad trouble by officiating, as Nate said, the whole floor. And really the way this works out is that you cannot see everything from every place. And this is where the art comes in, is you have to understand that sometimes you've got to pick your partner up because, you know, they may be looking inside, something happens on the transition outside, and you might have to pick something up in their area just because they just are not looking at it. It's not that, you know, it's not that they don't want to call it, unless their eyes are just turning and looking at it, they probably didn't see it. So just keep that in mind. And I'm not trying to overwhelm everybody. I do think it's important that you try to stay in your areas. And at most levels, lower levels, they're not going to be doing a lot of really weird things away from the ball or in the backcourt. Now, that's not exactly a true statement either, but I would say try not to call in front of your partner, but I wouldn't hesitate to call something that's halfway between you or something, you know, even across the court, you know, all the way across the court. You probably have the best look at it because you're looking through it. If you're looking across the court at it, you probably see the contact between them where your partner, whose area it is actually in, probably can't see that.
And Shane, to answer your question, no, you're not going to see this in a mechanics manual. You're going to see this in the mechanics manual. What John is trying to explain is that, you know, this is a little more realistic to how we officiate in the front court in two-person mechanics than this. This is what every mechanics manual in the country probably has. This is a little bit more realistic in the front court.
Real quick, I'm a straight shooter, as you guys know. I am so used to seeing the regular in the book. I've ran just 2-man. I haven't done much 3-man. The other one, to me, trying to cover the lead, trying to cover anything up top in that diagonal is almost impossible because he'd have to come up court a little to see it.
I mean, think about it though, in this sense, and you're right, absolutely. And this trail can referee this half just as easily as this lead can referee this half. Okay, and again, we talk about it subjective. This is what you'll see in your manual. But what John is trying to explain is you can referee, you know, you can help, and there's a lot of gray in two-person mechanics. Ultimately, the rule of thumb in three-person mechanics is call the obvious, don't guess. I don't think we have that same philosophy in two-person mechanics. No. It's a lot of sometimes a guess is probably the safest bet, especially right. Some of these fast-paced games that we aren't used to calling two-person mechanics, which we could see this year based on the circumstances that we're in.
Right. You're going to do the exact opposite of what you do in three-person mechanics. In three-person mechanics, you're going to be on top of the play. You're going to be able to back away from it and look at it really good. In two-person mechanics, you're probably going to try to chase it to where you can get you a decent position, but you're going to have to guess at some things because you're not going to be able to see them. And so if it looks like what you think they're doing, you can choose to call it or not choose to call it. But like I gave Nate an example, is if you're coming up behind somebody, remember, you're trying to close on them. You're not trying to back away from them like you would in 3-man. You're trying to close on them because you're so far away to start with. And if that hand goes around on a reach around, you're probably going to put your whistle on it, even though you didn't see them pull their arm off or you didn't see them knock their hand off. But certainly if the ball goes screwy when they do that, you're probably going to put a whistle on it. That's the art of this. If it looks like it's a foul, even though you don't have x-ray visions, you probably should call it, and you probably will not get anything from the coach on it. The coach will not challenge you on that call. Just an example.
So John Garcia, you had your hand up for a while. Did you have a question, or was that an accident? Okay, it's an accident. I'm lowering your hand.
And remember,
I'm just touching my phone. Thank you.
And remember, I mean, when it comes to court coverage, especially in two-person mechanics, you have to, especially if you're an experienced three-person mechanic official, you have to understand that your court coverage is very subjective, and you are going to have partners that will call something in front of you based off of the fact that I think we're guessing a lot of times. So, all right, John, sorry.
All right, we're going to look a little bit at out of bounds coverage now. And of course, we know that we split the court again. We've got our near official here on the bottom of the screen. Our other official, I think it must be behind the screens here, but that yellow is the official that you can't see, which would be the trail, I think, in this situation. I'm correct on that, right, Nate?
I don't know where you're at. Are we looking at the blue line?
I'm looking at the yellow line.
Okay, so the lead is on the top right of the screen. If you may need to move your box, yep.
Okay, yeah. So those two lines, the baseline behind the trail and his sideline is his lines. And you really ought to lay off those lines if you're the guy there at the bottom of the screen that's becoming the new lead. Now, I'm not telling you that if that ball goes from the, let's say the key in the backcourt and goes out of bounds beyond A's bench down there, and the trail has got 10 guys down there with him, that you probably can help out with that call being that lead because it's so far away. You're probably going to be able to see it better if you know where it came from, if you know who touched it last. But the general rule is keep to your lines. The new lead has got the blue line, which is going to be the new baseline, and got the sideline, which I can't see on my screen, but the sideline right there behind them is his line.
Yep. And so since I can see the full screen, John, just real quick, the lead official here has the sideline nearest him or her, and same thing with the in line here. Nearest her or him, and in this case the blue line represents that the trail official has sideline nearest, and then of course the opposite in line. So if that ball for whatever reason gets thrown away into the backcourt, that trail is going to chase it down and then have an understanding. Now, one thing that and I don't know if John you can see this, if this ball comes out over here in the backcourt, it gets tipped and it goes out into the backcourt in front of Team A's bench on this yellow line. Okay, that is still the lead's line.
Right.
The trail is probably going to have a better idea of who it went out of bounds on. So just because the trail has the best look, the lead here still needs to blow their whistle, and the trail then ask for help. The trail will then give the information needed to get that play right.
Right. And you can, and again, I'm not trying to go faster than what people are ready for, but in the good old days, we would actually look at each other. In other words, if that ball goes out, like Nate said, and there isn't an immediate whistle on it, I guarantee you that trail is going to be looking right at that lead. And that is a clue that he needs help. And so, whoever ends up blowing the whistle, but if that lead comes right at, either is looking at you or comes right out at you after blowing the whistle, be ready to help them with that call. So make sure you get eye contact, because if you don't hear that immediate whistle, somebody's needing some help. If the whistle's a little bit late. So use your eye contact so that, you know, and I think that the trail, well, I mean, the new lead is going to have a pretty good idea whether that's going to be a really tough call or not. Because he'll see where the ball probably comes from, and he'll know he should be ready, or she should be ready to help with that call right there in front of Team A's bench. But give the guy or gal, the person that has the line, the first crack at it. That's just sage wisdom. Give them the first crack. If they don't take advantage of the first crack, then help them.
All right, John, here's your division line, backcourt.
All right, of course, that backcourt, if we're going from right to left on the screen, is that what we're doing, Nate? Going left to right?
So the trail, yep, say there is a backcourt violation. Trail would be responsible for trail for backcourt violations.
Yeah, the trail's got that line. Now, there's a couple of things that you know, there's exceptions to all this stuff. Let's say the ball just comes out real quick and everybody is still in that position right there. And we have a backcourt situation right there and everybody is still in that position. Well, it makes no sense for the trail to call this. The lead would call it because standing right there with it. But that's a very unusual situation. You know, 99% of the time, that is going to be the trail's call. And again, I don't want to bog you down with ifs, ands, or buts on this, but they're just about as an if, and, and but on every play if you decide to take it that far. If you're a brand new official, you got to ignore some of this stuff we're saying, because you got to just officiate the stuff that you know that you can officiate. And that is officiate your lines, officiate your areas, and make sure you know where your partner is. Those are really the three things you really need to know.
Nate or John, is the trail mirroring the open hand and chop on the throw in if the ball comes in on the baseline in the front court?
The answer to that would be yes. You want to mirror that chop in the front court as the trail.
Oh yeah, okay, I see. Yeah, I was still thinking backcourt situations, but no.
Yeah,
in the front court play, that's a chop.
A mirror of the chop. Yep.
Yeah.
Are there any questions on out of bounds responsibilities for Mr. Daniel?
And if I missed anything in the chat, feel free to put them in the chat or just unmute yourself.
Yeah. All right. Reporting fouls. Now we got two officials out there, one on the baseline, one will be out top. The area the darkened area right there is the area we're going to go to report. Now, you know, I'm saying if you need to either get there or get close to there to make the call. And that is just so you clear the players and so you're standing in front of the table. If you're working a lower level game, you probably have some people that are pretty inexperienced at the table and just don't do anything to make their job harder than it is. It's probably a matter of about 4 or 5 steps, regardless of where you're at on the floor, to get to that, roughly that area. And I'm not saying you got to stand in the middle of it. You can stand on the back side of it. Probably the back side of it's a better place. Or you can, or further to either side. You know, if you're having to come up, you know, you might go to that nearest short sideline there to report. But come out to there, stop, and give your signal. Don't do what I call a rolling signal. And a rolling signal is one where you're still running or walking.
Yep, it's important to come to a stop, report your foul. Something that I think new officials and veterans can probably remember their first time reporting at the table. You're going to want to get as close to the table as possible because you feel like you're afraid to use your voice. So you get real close to the table. And if you notice his box isn't even anywhere near the table. So stay back and report. Use your voice. You don't have to go lean up against the table to report the foul. You can actually stand back and you'll learn that you can report from 10 feet away and still be heard.
Nate, you can probably answer this just because you've had the mask wearing experience. When you report, do you remove the mask to report and remask, or do you report through the mask?
No, you can just leave your mask on, use your voice and use your signals. It's fortunate that the mechanics and the rules changed it to two-hand reporting a couple of years back, and I think that makes it a little more clear. But it definitely projecting your voice. I haven't had an issue at the table, and if they can't hear you, then you just repeat yourself.
Right, and you brought up a really good point, Nate, that we have not talked about. But most good basketball officials, and of course it takes confidence, but you need to use your voice out there. You need to tell the players what you want. Like if we have a foul and they're going to be shooting, tell them we need to line up, or tell them we need to get to the far end. Or when you do call that foul, say 45, that one's on you. And if you say that kind of stuff and you use kind of a command voice with it, the table will already know what you've got by the time you get over there, because you're not going to be playing in front of 5,000 people. So use a command voice to tell the players what you want. And when I say I'm not saying be rude to anybody, but use I'm a former PE teacher, so I used to, you have to kind of talk loud when you're in a big area. So use that PE teacher's voice, use that outside voice to tell people what you really want them to do. Make your job a lot easier.
All right, John. So we're going to get into the rotations a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll kind of go through the little animations and we'll kind of explain those to you and how the rotations work. So remember, I guess before we move on to that, the key thing is you always switch and you always replace where your partner left. So if the lead has a foul, they're going to go report to the table. The trail is going to replace them in that position to either throw in, or if there's a foul, table side, trail, just remember the reporting official always ends up table side, trail. So if the throw-in happens to be table side, trail, sideline, then both officials are just going to stay, but we'll show those examples.
Non-shooting fouls, you can see what we're doing.
So
we've got our trail down there, and I assume our lead is behind the screen from what I'm looking at. And again, you tell me the situation and I'll get them there.
Yep. So the lead has a whistle. That is the location of the ball. The foul is a non-shooting foul. Okay, so that means we have a hand check, a hold, something down here in front of the lead. The lead is going to blow the whistle, and then John, go ahead and walk them through that.
Yeah, as the lead comes up to the foul reporting area, and again, it's important to run outside the players, just like was shown there, and the new lead should go around the players. You shouldn't go through them. Don't ever go through the players, because you never can tell what's going to happen. In fact, as soon as you see that foul being called and the lead coming up to report, you should start sliding just directly towards the baseline. And then you can put yourself in the correct position once you get to the baseline. But don't run through the middle of the players, because again, if you turn your back on your players, you might be the one they're making fun of.
Yeah.
So,
and of course, I wasn't creative enough to show that, so I just pretty much put my trail through the players. But it is going to be, and that trail is not just going to be quick to take off and switch with that lead. You're going to want, as the trail, you're going to really want to just kind of walk and watch your players and kind of this path around them, and then then you'll end up in the lead's position. Okay.
That's right. There's no hurry. Make sure you keep everybody in front of you. And really your key on getting the ball back in play is when the reporting official turns back around, that tells you they're ready. So that way you're out of bounds, your player that's out of bounds. Sometimes you might have to say, white, you're going to be your out of bounds right here. And tell them. And then just be ready when the other official, reporting official turns around. As soon as they turn around, they're ready to go. So be ready to put it in play. But you don't have to rush to get there. What you want to do is supervise the players until that person is ready to go.
All right. So real quick, as you notice, the lead goes and reports. The trail replaces the lead for a throw in on the end line, the spot nearest the foul. Once that lead reports the foul, now they will replace where the trail was, and they become the new trail.
Right. They'll just trot over to that new position, and you should be diagonal from each other. And remember, the official that's handling the throw in on the baseline should be, their back should be, they should be outside the player that's throwing in and the key. In other words, you don't put yourself in the key to throw it in, or between the player and the key to throw it in. You put yourself outside the key or the lane to throw it in.
Yep. All right, here we go. And now we have same situation, foul in front of the lead, and we are shooting shots. So in this instance, lead will go report, trail will go to administer free throws, and the lead will stay table side. As the trail official, you stay table side after your report.
Yeah. And this switch, we talked about switching, and the reason why it's important to switch is because you don't want to be in the same place during the whole game. You want to be giving the coaches a different, and the players a different look at the officials. So in other words, if you don't switch, they're the same officials going to be in the same area calling whatever. At least this time, they can say that, if Nate and I are officiating and we're doing our switches correctly, and we have a similar foul in the different positions, he calls it once in that position, I call it once in that position, then really that kind of takes the edge off that foul kind of thing. But remember, in two-man mechanics, the new trail official, the not administering official, is going to stay on table side, which puts the lead on the far side or non-table side.
All right.
And once you get down there, new lead, remember, there's no hurry till the person turns around. You should be telling the players, we're going to shoot one, we're going to shoot, whatever. We're going to shoot one, we're going to shoot two, and get them in the right lane spots. It's, that's something you can do while that other fellow there or lady is getting them reporting that foul. Get the players ready to go. The trick is to keep the game moving. And if you are doing the things when the ball is dead, the game will be a lot quicker and to be a lot smoother.
And there's a couple of questions in the chat. First, before reporting, we pass information on to our partner, correct?
Absolutely. It's just
right.
communication.
Let's say you're on your lead going out to the reporting area. You tell your partner, 23 is going to be shooting 2. And that will make sure you get the right shooter up there, because believe it or not, some people will try to send their best free shooter up there every time, even at the junior high level. I would say especially at the junior high level. So you should communicate by saying 23 is the shooter, and that'll help out a lot. Good question.
And then the other question, as the trail, is it good to face the table during free throws?
As a trail, no. Well, I mean, while you're reporting, you're facing, but when the free throw is getting ready to start, you're turning back around to officiate your far sideline, your far lane line, and that tells the person who's putting the ball in play, who's on the lead, that they can bounce the ball to the free throw.
And Joseph, I would imagine that that's what you meant. So stay at the back. Yeah, absolutely. So report your foul, and then you turn to face the floor.
Correct.
All right. So in this case, this next situation, we've got a foul in front of our trail official. This is a non-shooting foul. That means that, and brand new officials, we always want to, and I probably should have included this in the slides, John, and we didn't even think about it, but our throw-in spots on violations and fouls. But really the terminology we want to use is spot nearest the foul. So in the case that, that the foul happens where the ball is located, this throw-in is going to be right along this sideline. Okay. Yeah. And so we have a trail official. Obviously, this trail official needs to go report the foul. Okay. And again, just like we do every single time, we want to replace our trail official. I know that there was a comment, some veterans will wave you off and tell you to hold your spot. I'm telling you, do not do that. If you have to go report your foul, don't report your foul from right here and then just go back to, trust me, that's a rotation that you need to have so that we continuously are rotating and having different looks throughout the game. Just because you don't want to, or you're trying to save steps, in this case, the trail needs to go report the foul. That lead will come up to the sideline to administer the throw in. And then once that old trail reports their foul, they will now head down to the lead position. And now we're ready for a throw in.
What happens if you have a slow moving partner?
Well, then we wait. The clock has stopped.
Yeah. Wait on your partner. And again, you can talk about that, at some time, halftime, after the game, before the game, if you've worked together before. But darn it, the name of this game is hustle and get in your spot, especially if you're the person reporting the foul. The other guy has a little more time.
All right. So same situation. We have a foul, I don't know, right here, shooting by the trail. Trail's going to go report. Lead's going to come up and administer free throws, and then the trail's just going to stay where they're at, table side. So remember, anytime we're shooting free throws and you go report, just plan on staying table side. The only time you ever report and then go somewhere is to fill the lead spot or the trail spot.
That's a good way to think about it, I think. This is you do save a few steps by doing this. And again, it doesn't happen all that often. This is one of those things that happens a few times a game. So I think that, I agree completely with Nate on that. I think that that's a good way that, and we talked about it a little bit, it may not be exactly right, but it's close enough.
Yep. And ultimately, we could have gone through, I think, John, every possible rotation and scenario. This is our last slide. For example, we have a lead here, our trail's there, and we have a non-shooting foul on the sideline right here. This one's an easy. There is no rotation. The trail's going to report the foul, their foul that they had here, and then they're going to administer the throw in, and then the lead will stay here. There is no switch on that one.
Yeah, it makes no sense to do it. It's faster to do it this way. You get the game going again quicker.
Right. Now, the trail has a foul here. in this case, okay, the trail will still go report there. This lead will come administer this throw in, and then once the trail reports, then they'll come down, and now they're down here, and our new lead, or our new trail old lead, is now here. So again, we can go through those scenarios, and ultimately what, I think John would, we could probably spend just an hour on foul reporting rotation.
Yeah, I think what's important, particularly early in the season and with the inexperience or the lack of repetitions that we've had recently doing this, is keep your eye on your partner. If your partner vacates a spot, you fill the spot. Even if it's not exactly right. If they run off of a spot, and let's say they run all the way from trail to the other trail on the far end, and that leaves you doing something you wouldn't normally do, don't holler at them to come back. Just go to their spot, put the ball in play. So
a question,
you're the only one who knows the difference.
Is it a good idea to go opposite table side after a tee is given to the coach and communication has deteriorated?
Well, I think anytime that you have a volatile situation, now I'm not saying you have to turn it around on your free throws and all that, but if I'm just saying that experienced officials are not going to have that much trouble with coaches in that situation. Inexperienced officials may have a little trouble in that situation. Just walk out onto the floor more. If you're end up in front of that person that you just teched up, just walk out onto the floor more. Or if it's bad enough, certainly switch. You're still going to get the same look. You really are going to get the same look. But gosh, I'll tell you another true thing about officiating. Once the coaches know what they're getting, and again, for a person who's did it for over 30 years, I can't tell you, I don't have problems. I didn't have problems like that my last 20 years officiating. Nobody challenged me. But for a guy, if you're an unknown official, particularly brand new, they're inexperienced, you're inexperienced, probably staying away from the coach is some of the best advice you could get. Stay away from them. I told Nate back in the old days, my goal every game was to never talk to the coach once we threw the ball up. Now I'm telling you that probably never really happened. But if you can not talk to them too much, and I don't mean if they're asking reasonable questions, you can do it in a reasonable way, you should talk to them. But if they're out of their mind trying to talk to you, you need to just move away from them. Move away. Just take yourself out of it so that you don't have to do something to them. And again, I think for young officials, staying away from the coaches is good advice.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's been a lot of questions or comments in the chat and some private chats. Brand new officials, I would highly advise, encourage, beg you to find a mentor. And for individuals who are veteran officials, I encourage, beg, plead that you be a mentor. So a lot of times we have officials who are really good at, giving back and taking someone under their wing. And then we have some that feel like they don't need to do that, especially in this year, because it's going to be so very weird. It's important that our newer officials have somebody that they can talk to about this kind of stuff. If they have, questions about rules and mechanics, if they have questions about just the lay of the land being an official. So as I'm getting in private chats, that's what a lot of this has been about. If you are a new official and you want some ideas as far as who you should reach out to mentor, because in some cases you haven't met anybody yet because this has been such a weird year, get a hold of Nate and myself, and we'll make sure that we get you in touch with someone in your group who can really help you with that process, because it's going to, it's going to help you down the long run. And it'll be, officials, I think that you will learn more from teaching than you actually learn from doing. So a lot of our officials who become clinicians and instructors always say that that's the most helpful way for them to learn, is to be able to teach. So please make sure that that's happening. And there was a comment in the chat a while ago that said, veterans, please be patient with the newer officials. This is going to be a weird year for trying to do instruction because we're not having scrimmages. So there's going to be a lot more OJT than possible, or than usual. So just make sure that you're being kind. We just had a soccer clinic, and our clinician said the best thing. He said, make sure you have grace with everybody this year. We all need to have some grace and some patience. So please do that.
Yeah. Hey, and real quick, veteran officials, if you're part of a leadership team, a group leader, an assigner, you should already be reaching out to your new officials. We send you updated lists constantly, and I know that there is a column that says new or renewal. Reach out to those new officials. If you are not part of the leadership team, you're not part of a group leader or anything like that, and you want to get involved, I really highly recommend, as a veteran official, you reach out to your group leader and say, hey, group leader, can you send me a list of new officials? I want to reach out to them, maybe have a Zoom meeting or do something with them, because I don't know how often in all sports, Dana and I send the information of new officials to local groups, and then we hear from these individuals a month later that they haven't been contacted. So ultimately, I mean, we're trying to, get our new officials, as much communication as possible. And so it's different if Dana and I are communicating with the new official. It really hits home if somebody from their local group actually reaches out to them. So I really, really encourage veteran officials to reach out to some of our younger officials, or not even younger officials, newer officials, and get them involved, because there's, like I said, and I'm going to use Mr. Maxwell, who is a brand new official. And I think, and Dana and I love it. We've probably received an email from him just about every day asking questions, and it's awesome because he's excited, yet he's not sure, what's going on in the local group. So reach out and find out so that we can get Mr. Maxwell some help. I know that there's some great future vet leaders out in the state, and they do a really good job. So there's my rant.
Yeah, let me just follow up real quickly. The stuff that we talked about tonight is really to be pregame. So make sure you talk about this stuff in your pregame. Another thing that to tell you as an inexperienced official, I learned this at a clinic, believe it or not. It's poise under pressure. He put PUP on the board, poise under pressure. And another way you could say that is, don't ever let them see you sweat. Don't show indecision on your face. Just try to show that you've got confidence, even if you're not that confident. Try to show confidence and just keep the game moving. You'll have a whole lot less trouble with everybody if you'll just do the things we talked about here. Get your switches right. Try to stay away from people that are mad at you, and keep the game moving. That solves a lot of problems. If you keep the game moving, they're going to have a hard time getting to you, because you're going to be moving up and down the floor. So again, if anybody tells you that learning how to officiate basketball is an easy thing, they're wrong. This is this is the toughest. You can argue that a lot of things are tough in a lot of different sports, but doing this basketball thing is really tough. And good mentors is the only way to make this really work. In fact, you mentors need to get out there and work with these people. Don't put two new people out there so that some of these weird things will happen to them, because the coaches will immediately get after two new people. But if they put a veteran out, if a veteran's out there with them, they're much less likely to have a problem, much less likely. So step up, volunteer, work with these young officials. They need it. Nobody learns how to do this by themselves. Nate didn't learn how to do it. I didn't learn how to do it by myself. I had people pulling me along with them. And that was actually the truth. They pulled me along because I was probably the least suited guy in the world to be a basketball official. But Fortunately, I had some guys encourage me and stay with me, and I had a great career officiating basketball for the greatest organization, state organization in the world, as far as I'm concerned. And that's the NMOA, NMAA. Great organization, people. If you want to learn how to do it right, and have support from the office, it's a great place. So use these people. Dana and Nate, that's their job, to help you. And believe me, they will return your call. They will, do whatever they can do to help you. So use them. Don't think you're on your own out there. You're not. They'll get you hooked up locally, plus they'll help you from the state office. So be brave. Go out there with confidence. Good strong whistle. Get after them.
And I will say, John, with that, I want to say thank you. I know that Dana and I talk about this is, I don't think we rely on our veteran officials enough. And you are a great example tonight that, you can teach some of our old dogs new tricks, and our old dogs know a lot more than we'll ever know. I tell Dana this all the time. I've seen half the plays that John Daniel has seen. And there's one thing that he has that I will never have, and that's game experience. And so rely on your veteran officials. Every group has them, and, respect them, trust them, because they know the business. They know they know exactly what you need to do to succeed. And like I said, if it weren't for the strong veteran group that I came from, I definitely wouldn't have had some of the success that I've had. And so, rely on those veteran officials. I know that, and don't consider me a veteran official, because I know half of what John Daniel knows. And so, rely on those veterans. They really will help you succeed in this.
Like John said, be brave, ask questions. It's okay to ask questions. And if you have, I'm being honest, and veterans on this, you've probably heard me say it. If you have a veteran who kind of sloughs you off, we need to know about that, because that's not what we expect of our veteran officials. Veterans should be willing to answer those questions. And if they don't know, it's okay to say that they don't know. But everybody on this webinar knows that we're big on the officiating family. And as part of that, you need to embrace each other, and you need to help each other through the growing pains of officiating, because there are many. So don't be afraid to ask questions if you're new officials and veteran officials. It's okay to ask too. Sometimes somebody that's been around less than you might know something that you don't. You can always pick up some nuggets. So don't ever think that you're above learning something new. So with that, John, thank you so much for the presentation, and we appreciate your willingness to continue to give back after all of these years, all of your different roles. This has been recorded, so we'll send out the link tomorrow and or the next day, sometime this week. We're working on schedules right now. So we'll get that out, and that way if you look through it and you have any questions, feel free to shoot them to us, and we'll be able to get those to John if it's a John question, or Nate if Nate can answer it. And we hope everybody has a smooth season. We're going to stay on for a couple of minutes, Nate and I will, so you can log out if you'd like, or you can stay on. Oh,
so yep, attendance. Don't plan on getting one this week, as you can imagine. That's okay. As you can imagine, we're getting all of our fall sports schedules, and so that's kind of what I'm tied up doing. So I will get you guys today's attendance sometime next week. So if you're expecting it the next couple of days, I'm going to tell you next week.
Don't check your emails for that. There's been a couple of questions. The season starts March 27th as of right now, as has been the case with everything this year. Put an asterisk by that, because everything is subject to change. Everybody who came on tonight, thank you so much for being on and joining us. And we hope that you either had your memory refreshed or you learned something new, and that this will be beneficial. We appreciate whoever it was who asked us to do a two-person session in the last meeting. I should have written that down. So we do appreciate that, because it was something we haven't done for a really long time. So that was greatly appreciated. And John, again, thanks for your knowledge. And anybody has any questions, you can unmute. This is when we get pretty informal, and feel free to unmute, throw something in the chat, however you want to do it, and we'll stay on for a few minutes. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thanks, John. Tell Patsy I said hi.
Will do. Will do.
Thanks, John. Love that mustache. Makes you look younger.
Well, thanks. I don't get too many positive comments on that, especially from around the house here. So glad to hear it.
Yosemite Sam in the works?
It kind of looks that way, doesn't it?
Or Wyatt Earp, as Tony just called you.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's see. I want to give a shout out to some veterans that are in my screen. Let's see. Dwayne Brown on this screen. Thank you. Thank you for all that you do.
Hope all is good.
We got Stacy Ross over here in my screen, another veteran. Larry, what's up, buddy? Thank you for all that you do. See some Leonard on this screen. John Conitzer, veteran official. No, you're not old, John, just veteran.
Steve Barella's on here.
Steve Barella, veteran.
Thank you.
Yeah, who am I? Let's see. And anybody that's in my generation of officials, you don't get to consider yourself a veteran yet. I
used
don't.
to work with John Daniel and Ed Helsel back in the days.
Yeah, that makes you
That
veteran.
makes you veteran.
Yeah, that makes me an old veteran.
Let's see.
Hey, you said it, not us, Steve.
Mark Romero in this screen.
Stacy Ross rocking the beard, man.
Hey, Dana, this is what makes me old. John Daniels was my driver's ed teacher in,
Oh my
1979 in Mayfield High
Wow.
School.
We got on this screen, I've got Luis Salceda, Las Cruces, Rick Sanchez, man, Kurt Temple on here, Dave Davis, Victor Diaz, legend from Lordsburg. Doug, you're still not a veteran. Bill Haddis, you're old, but you're a rookie.
Wow.
Let's see.
Nate, that's not right.
Hey, I had to. It's Bill. Come on. Who am I missing? Am I missing anybody, Dana? My Candace Aragon. Manny Reynoso's in the house. The legend. What year? Hey, Manny, unmute yourself. What Olympics did you call? 90s? Manny doesn't know how to work a computer. We know that. So somebody that knows Manny, what year did he work the Olympics?
Lopez, your hand is up. Do you have a question, or is that an?
Don, do you know that answer?
He was working since the 70s because I used to give him a ride when I worked at UNM for the Lobo games.
Yeah.
So I know he was working in the 70s.
Burton on the screen. He's another veteran.
Bert's been around a few days.
No, I'm just old.
Okay.
You're like Bill Haddis.
Yes.
You know what? We've got some rookies. If you're a rookie, Ivan, Ariel, I see you on here. Am I missing anybody?
Bill Haddis was delayed in his response and being offended.
Ivan, I'm going to challenge you to reach out to Bill Guthrie. He's your group leader in Alamogordo. Ariel, I'm going to have you reach out to either Walt or Candace, get you going. If I'm missing any new officials through this, a lot of the names. David Osuna, veteran, because you're old and you're a veteran.
Thank you.
Let's see. Sam. Ryan.
I just saw Jaime Lopez. He's not a rookie altogether, but he's new to basketball, so he's a baseball guy.
Okay,
coming on over.
Hey, guy, I have a question for you guys on the guidelines you guys sent. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Who's enforcing these guidelines? Like I'm reading some of those guidelines with the unnecessary congregating and things like that. Is that as an official? Is that administration?
That's administration and coaches.
Okay.
Officials have enough to deal with. So, if you're at a school and you see that, I don't know, players are incessantly taking their masks off, that's something that you would just report to us. We have a lot of officials who are like, so do we give them a technical foul? No, don't give them a technical foul. Just let us know if that kind of stuff happens. But if any of that other stuff with regard to congregating, social distancing on the bench, that's up to the coach. You all have enough to deal with. You don't need to be the social distancing and mask police.
All right. And as usual, I want to give a shout out to our assigners. Central Region, Cliff Jenkins. I don't believe Cliff is on. Northeast Region, David Asuna. Northwest, Walter Dorman, who is not on. East is Fabian Lopez. He is not on. South, our newly hired Leonard Velasquez in the South. Southwest, Tony Armijo. I believe, Tony, you're still on. So, again, these are some hardworking individuals, and they do a great job of a lot of things. It's not an easy job, and I think John could probably, just from different levels. So be patient with your signers, communicate well with them, and most importantly, block your dates, especially in a year like this.
Hey, can you explain what the status of the rule books are? Because I know some have been dropped off, some have been mailed.
Ivan, I can't remember when you actually registered. If you registered before I did rule books a couple weeks ago, your books are in Alamogordo already with your group leader, Bill Guthrie.
Have Gallups been mailed or?
Yep, everything went out. Everything went out this morning. There are no more books in the office except for the Central Region. They're still at the office.
Don't forget about the app.
And then the app, I will probably send you guys another reminder on how to sign up, get your app on your phone.
All right. If there's no other questions, I think we will.
Hey, Nate, if we had last year's app, does it update?
I think I already cleared the new app. So just try to download the new app. If it tries to charge you, send me an email and I'll go back in and activate your account. Yeah, I've got to re-up it every year. So just try to download the new rulebooks, the 2021 rulebooks. And if it's trying to charge you, don't pay and send me an email and I'll get it done.
And it might try to charge you because the subscription for that is based upon registrations that we've submitted to the Federation. So,
right. And I believe that I have run one of, I think I have run that once this year. And I think you were on that, David. So just try it. And if it's not there, just shoot me an email. I'll take care of it. Did it download? Sorry, you were muted, but you're working on it. Anybody else? Any other questions? Man, I was hoping Manny would unmute. Manny, it's 2021. You got to figure it out, buddy. We need you to teach us something. If I missed any veterans, I apologize. Anybody else? And then we've still got those.
Hold on, Manny's hand is up.
Manny, you raise your hand, but you're not, unmute yourself.
Okay,
there it is.
It was a very good presentation from a good friend, John Daniel, okay?
Hey, listen, I wore the 1984 Olympics, but before that, I was assigned to go and wore the 1980 in Moscow. But because of the problem, that I guess, that the Russian troops, in Afghanistan, caused a big problem. And former president in 1980, he said, that nobody was assigned, that nobody from USA will go and work, Olympics. But anyway, I'm gonna be very happy, to have, the new referees and Nate, Dana. Don't hesitate to call me, to give help, to those guys that need help. Okay.
Absolutely, Manny. And, Manny has been a staple down in the Southwest region and in this state. He actually lives in El Paso, Texas. And so he's been a dual state official for many, many years. In fact, when was it?
The Hall of Fame, Manny, in Texas?
Yes, I'm in the Hall of Fame, in El Paso, in Mexico City, in Chihuahua. And last year, they called me to be inducted into the Hall of Fame in San Antonio, Texas, as the top Latin referee.
Well, I just thought it was San Antonio. I didn't know about all the other ones. My goodness. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm a Hall of Famer over here in El Paso, and my ugly picture is over there at UTEP, okay? You understand that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manny, crack me up after all these years.
All right. Hey, I'm very happy, to be a member of the NMOA and New Mexico Activity Association, and I'm going to try my best this year, to help as much as I can, all those referees that need help. Okay.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Manny, every time I speak to or I have a conversation with Violet Palmer, she always makes sure that I reach out to you. I haven't done a very good job, but she's always, hey, tell my good friend Manny hello.
Oh, thank you very much, Violet. The last time that we worked together was over there in Hawaii and at Kona Island. And I don't know, I have so many good memories of my fellow officials, that I would like to share, some of this, with my fellow officials, and one of these days I will, okay?
Absolutely.
We might have to have a panel and have Manny on it so he can talk about his journey. Sounds interesting.
Okay.
You've got a lot of stories to tell, Manny.
I'm sorry?
You've got a lot of stories to tell.
Oh, I have so many stories, I remember, that when I started officiating in Mexico City, and I remember I was working in the Pro League in Aguascalientes, Mexico, and just to tell you something about this, at the end of the game, the fans came on the court and they physically assaulted us, It was ugly though. Thanks a lot, that there were a couple of policemen, okay, that helped us, but, our uniform was completely full of blood, okay, because of the fans. They physically assaulted us. And we have to get back again the second day. And what I heard, as soon as we got into the gym, they say, didn't you learn your lesson? You blah, 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 blah. And we officiated with a lot of, strength, and nothing happened on the second game. Thank God.
Well, that's good. I probably wouldn't have gone back the second day. That sounds horrible.
When I first started officiating, I always wanted to work with like you and Lewis and Oscar and John and JE and for whatever reason, you and Oscar never, every time I got a game with one of you, you guys would always decline it. And so there for a while, I just didn't think you worked with rookies, but then I realized that you either picked up a game in El Paso or they needed you on a game not for rookies. So that's why I didn't get to work with the two big dogs.
Hey, right now I'm still working, in the ABA, and there's a team here in El Paso, but I'm not officiating right now because my wife didn't allow me to officiate until the pandemic disappears. But anyway, I'll be ready for my New Mexico Activity Association games. And please, Don and Nate, forget me not.
We would never forget you, Manny.
No, Manny, never forget you. In fact, so if you do not referee this year, when was the last time you went an entire year without officiating?
Well, my last game was, November the 15th, okay? I was at Parkland High School.
Oh, this year?
Yeah, this 2020.
Okay.
And my wife didn't like that at all, okay? So I had to spend 2 days in a hotel because, she said, get out of here, okay? Because I don't want you to infect me with a pandemic, blah, blah, blah. And then, then I got back home the third day and I had to spend about, 10 days in quarantine, in my room. And it was kind of a tough though, but Dana and Nate, I'll be ready, to officiate in New Mexico because, I love my officiating career.
Hey, you just listen to the wife, Manny.
Happy wife, happy life, man.
You don't get to call a game.
Yeah, because, probably the next time if I officiate and the pandemic is still around, probably she will put me in jail. I hope not.
Oh, man.
I don't know if you can be jailed for that, but I mean, more power to her.
Well, you know what? If they put me in jail, I will try to get a hold of you people and you can bring me lunch. Okay?
I thought you were going to say we could post bail, but all you want is lunch. All right, I'll throw a sandwich at you.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity, to talk to you people, and God bless you. And my best regards to all the officials all over New Mexico. Okay, thank you,
Manny. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Manny.
Hey.
Oh man, that was a bonus.
That was bonus material. I liked it.
Absolutely.
Always before I close, okay, let me tell you this, okay. I always tell my fellow officials, okay, especially the new ones, that the basketball court is a replica of the classroom, okay. As a teacher, I always do that, and I respect players, coaches, even fans, when they call me, Speedy Gonzalez or Enchilada Man, I don't pay attention, to the fans, okay? But I remember, that I was working in Oklahoma City when I was in the college level. There was one guy that called me Enchilada Man from the stands. He was on top over there I think it was in Wyoming. And I look at him and he said, "You the worst referee in the conference." It was the WAC, Western Ontario Conference. And I look at him and I say, well, you want to replace me? Come over here. And he used one of his fingers, okay, of his hand, and I didn't pay attention to him at all, okay.
Of course not.
Oh, man.
Sad joke, Manny, sad joke.
Anybody that stayed on for this, seriously, is bonus. You got to meet our good friend Manny and the legend.
Oh, thank you very much. God bless you. And as I say, I'll be more than happy, to help my fellow officials, especially the new ones, okay, to give them a little bit of a positive points, for them to improve their officiating. Okay, thank you very much. God bless you. And it was a very good presentation from my good friend John Daniels. Okay.
Say a joke, Manny. Say a joke. Say a joke, Manny.
Oh, no. You know what? He had been quite a good experience as an international referee going to different parts of the world. in Uruguay, Montevideo, in Germany, in Asia, in Japan, China, I mean, Belgium, Brussels. I mean, what can I tell you about officiating? Okay, the good Lord has blessed me so much, you know, that if you come to my house over here, I have pictures with Major Johnson, with Nolan Richardson, one of the best coaches all over the nation, and what can I tell you? Okay, the good Lord has given me a lot of blessings. Thank you very much, you know, for the opportunity again, you know, to talk to you people. God bless you, and I'll be ready. When is the next meeting, Dana and Nate? When?
Oh goodness, I don't remember. Sorry. So Manny, do me a favor though. You need to tell your wife that we said thank you to her, because you know that you can't be successful at this unless you have a good support system. So tell her thank you and give her a hug for me.
Okay, I will.
And the next basketball meeting is on March 10th, Wednesday, March 10th at 7 o'clock. Our Northeast officials will be presenting that evening.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
You're so welcome.
Okay, thank you, Nate.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Manny. All right, I think that's it.
Nate,
go ahead, David.
it uploaded.
Okay, perfect, cool. Yeah, I thought I
first, but yeah, you just have to go to my books, and it says it expires on June the 30th of this year.
Yeah, perfect.
It upload.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right, everyone.
Everybody, have a good night, whoever's left. Thanks for sticking with us and getting the Manny bonus.
Yeah, the Manny bonus.
Later.
Good night, everybody.
Peace out.
Okay.